I had to upload, re-upload YouTube onto my phone because they trying to shut me down one way or another. So we had to re-upload YouTube. If you're in the house, I need you to let me know if you hear me good. Matter of fact, let me test myself. Make sure I'm in the house. Uh-oh, I'm live. I'm in the house. Let me see if I sound good. Let me see if I sound good. And that way I know. Let's see. Okay, I hear my sound. Okay, good. We're in the house. This is very key, what I'm telling y'all today. Why the ancient Egyptians can't be black and the Jews be white. That's just not possible. And that's why it's this push to either they're gonna show the Egyptians white, they're gonna show the Jews, they're gonna show the Hebrews white. Because how you gonna have white Jews when they spend 430 years in black Egypt? That don't make no sense. That's not even possible. You see, and the key and what's so key about this? We're in the house right now, family. We trying to drop heavy mantle. We want you to get this knowledge. You see, even when you talk about Moses, and you talk about Moses was was raised in Pharaoh's house. Moses was raised as Pharaoh's grandson. Okay, so ain't no way he could have been raised as Pharaoh's grandson if he didn't look like Pharaoh. So either Pharaoh was white and Moses was white, or Pharaoh was black and Moses was black. There's no way you're going to have the Hebrews being white, the Jews being white, and the Egyptians being black. So you're going to have to make, so the world has its mind on what color the Egyptians is, what color the Hebrews is. They're going to have to make up their mind. It can't be one or the other. And so that's why majority of these movies out here, when they show the ancient Egyptians, they're gonna show them white because they got some critical situations that they're gonna need to explain that they will not have an explanation for. You feel what I'm saying? And so even Jesus, when Jesus was a baby, he had to flee into Egypt. He had to hide because Herod, the king of the Jews at that time, under Roman rule, they were under Roman rule. Let me make sure I'm still in the house. Okay. He had to flee. He had to flee Palestine at that time. He had to flee and run into Egypt to hide. But see, it's clear because at that time, not only was Palestine under the rule of the Romans, so was Egypt. So it's not like he's free from, just because he flee into Egypt, because they're going to send word even into Egypt. We looking for this family. This is what they look like. So in order for him to flee and hide into Egypt, he got to look like the Egyptians. That's the only way, that he could, hide. Now, if he was a white boy going into, he could easily be spotted. That's not hard. They say, look for the little white boy amongst all them black people. That's all they had to say is look for the little white boy amongst all them black people. Okay? And so that's not logical. I cannot believe that God would tell Joseph to get up and take this baby into a land of all black people if he was a white boy. That's not even logical. So I can't believe God would do that. So this is why even in the movie, you got the movie The Gods of Egypt, and they didn't have one black person in the movie. Okay? Didn't have one black person in the movie. You got the Ten Commandments. Why do they present the whole movie as white? Because today the modern Jew is white. And there's no way you're gonna explain white Jews being in Egypt for 430 years. That's just not possible. That's not even logical for nobody. You can go amongst all nations that got, more than one race. It's going to be some intermixture. That's just all it is to it. You go to any nation today, if it's more than one race in there for one reason or another, it's going to be intermixture. If they've been there for a period of time, for whatever reason, one or another, it's going to be. So how is it that the Jews could be white and go into an all black nation as a minority? You see, as a minority and stay in that black nation for 430 years and come out white. That's illogical. You see, you must be insane to believe something like that. And so the lie is catching up with the Western world today. They still haven't thrown in the towel. They still they don't know what color the Egyptians, black power. Yeah, they want to act like they don't know what color the Egyptians is. They want to use all means to lie about, and it's necessary that we discuss the ancient Egyptians above and beyond almost. Why? Because Egypt was great at nationhood. See, when you talk about the Bible, you're talking about mythology. You're talking about a person's belief, and when you talk about Egypt, you're talking about the administration of nationhood for 3,000 years. No other civilization on the planet managed nationhood for that long. And for that fact alone, people all over the world, they look at Egypt and say, how was they able to achieve that? Here it is, America about to collapse after 200 years. You see, as great as Britain had an empire, but it only lasted for 200 years. And now they're a little peep squeak somewhere over there. You see, even the Arabs, they had a mighty civil empire for, for a few hundred, maybe 1,000 here or there, if you add them all up. Still, yeah, still, but for 3,000 years, and even when Egypt fell, it had two intermediate periods. And in those intermediate periods, there was no national leader. That means that, little city states, they were ruled by individual chiefs. You see, individual rulers in different city states, and that the nation had no national leader. But even when they fell into the intermediate periods, there came one who would reunite Egypt under one leader. So even when it fell out of national leadership, it again reclaimed its greatness, and a leader came and reignited golden ages in Egypt. 3 times that happened. Well, 2 times it did happen, but there was 3 golden ages. When the Greeks fell out of power, they never came back into greatness. You see, it never came back into greatness. When the Romans fell, when Rome was destroyed, it never came back into greatness. You see, when the Arabs fell out, they never came back into greatness. You see, and so that's enough. How was Egypt able to have that ingenuity to come back into greatness after falling? Britain is never coming back into greatness. See, it's hard to come. Once you fall, it's hard to come back like that. You see, and you have not seen too many nations to come back into power like that, you know, on a national scale, on a global scale. And so that's why we look at Egypt. That's why we look at Egypt. The resiliency in nationhood, not mythology. We can deal with the mythology. But, we talking about administration of nationhood and, the different areas that is necessary for you to manage. We talking about military. We talking about education. We talk about city planning. We talking about all of that. Access of the waterways. We talking about Navy. We talking about, even moving architecture and all of that, moving stones and mining for precious minerals and all of that, which nations do today. You see, so Egypt laid the foundation for what a modern nation needs to be successful. That's what's great about Egypt above beyond any other nation on the planet. It is the blueprint for a modern nation on how modern nations administrate itself today. Egypt is that. No other nation can claim that. No other nation. You see, Egypt even had war, was trading on the water on the global scale. You can see ships still ain't nothing changed. They still putting them ships out there on the water, globally. They still mining for precious minerals and things of that the nation need. They still doing that. No other nation in the ancient world did it as long and as successfully as ancient Egypt, and the ones that were a runner-up, but a distant runner-up, they modeled themselves after ancient Egypt. That's why we have to model ourselves after ancient Egypt, if nothing else. You see what I'm saying? And that's why they try to keep Egypt away from us. Everything else is partially mythological. You see, they ain't worried about no mythological because you can't run no nation on no mythological, even though we need myth. You see, even though we need myth, you can't run no nation on no myth. You see, you can't run no nation on no myth. And so they must attack ancient Egypt for nothing else but that alone being a blueprint, for black people to use to get back up on their feet and run cities and run nations and successfully. You see, success, not just run them successfully and do it with longevity, and once you learn it and you understand and see how the Egyptians ran it, you should be in power forever. You see, you should be in power forever. The Egyptians fell for some of the same reasons. After 3,000 years, they were so tired. They had been ruling, and they had been ruling even before that. We just talking about dynastically. You see, they was still in power even before that, even in their city states. They were, they were running city states for thousands of years, even before dynastically. And so, that's just the laws of nature, that what goes up must come down. But, it came into power again and again and again and again. And, today our people can use the same blueprint from our ancestors, good and bad. However they fell out of power, we look at that. And most of it is because they left the ancient traditions. And then there's a new anomaly that come in on the world play, which was these people that we call the caveman. They come in on silver, not understanding that they needed to been checked long time ago. You see, needed to be checked, and somehow that went under the radar, and that became a very grave mistake that our people, had to learn from, and we're still learning from those mistakes today. But again, this is the reason why they portrayed the Egyptians to be white, versus being black, which they are black. And that's the only thing they'll ever be is black. But if the Egyptians is black, how can the Jews be white when they spent, they spent over 430 years in Egypt? They married with the Egyptians, went to school with the black Egyptians, and today they white. Something ain't right with that story. But family, I appreciate y'all. We'll be black again. Y'all think about that. Why they must attack ancient Egypt. And everybody is attacking Egypt today. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because Egypt is real. Egypt is real. Everybody, every organization gets it, when it gets a boost by attacking Egypt or mimicking Egypt. Even today over here, people say that the Mississippi is the Nile. That's what they saying. You got people, you got in the Bible, they say, they say the Jews built the pyramids. And everybody, even the Mormons, they say Joseph Smith found a papyrus of Abraham way over here. Everybody establishes their organization on ancient Egypt. You know why? Because the glory of Egypt is so powerful by, connecting yourself to Egypt. This boosts your credibility. Just alone, it don't matter whether you can interpret. You don't need to interpret the pyramid once you see it. You don't need nobody is beyond anything that anybody else could create on this planet. That you don't have to dispute. So whoever built this, they the greatest people on the planet. That's what most people go come to understand. And so it can't be black. You can't be black, and everybody want to try to discard this information, but they can't, because after they long and gone, them pyramids gonna still be there, and thousands of years later, people still gonna be coming to them pyramids saying, "Wow, these are the greatest people on the planet." No matter what nobody do, what nobody say. Now, if that is us. And it is. Why are we not tapping into the greatest knowledge that has ever been manifested on the planet? Why are we pretending that we gonna learn something from these lesser mythological organizations? What do we think we gonna learn from that? When here we possess the greatest knowledge that ever existed on the planet Earth. I'm going to leave you with that information. You feel me? And I'll be back later. And if you can come up with any logical answer why you not tapping into this ancient wisdom of your ancestors and your people, I want you to give me the best answer that you have. All right, family, this is General Sarasun Seti. I'll be back in a minute or two. I want y'all to ponder on that knowledge. And I'll see you soon. Make sure you tap in over there to Patreon, kingseti.com. And I'll be black a little bit later. Boom, black power.